Welcome to Celestial Insights, a weekly podcast that brings the stars down to earth. I'm your host, astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks. My purpose is to provide practical, unique, and insightful guidance to help you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and on this episode, I will discuss the astrology for the week of January 25th, 2026. Before we get into today's episode, I want to share a quick invitation. I'm teaching my proper care and feeding of the Natal Moon class. It's all about understanding your emotional wiring through astrology. Your moon describes how you feel and process life, what you need to feel steady and supported, and how you can move through emotional cycles. We are now in eclipse season, and events are coming up to our conscious attention that can be quite emotional. In this class, I go through everything about the moon sign, the house it's in, the aspects it's making, as well as you'll learn about what it means based on the natal moon phase you're born under. So you'll get recordings that are teachings, as well as 2 live 90-minute Q&A sessions. I'll answer questions, do chart hot takes, and help you apply the learnings to your own chart. If you've gotten the on-demand course, you will get an invitation to the live sessions in case you want to join. You can go to astrologybyceleste.com or check out the show notes. The theme of this week is the deep freeze, and there are 3 big things I want you to think about as we navigate this week. The first is that we have a first quarter moon at 6 degrees of Taurus today. First quarter moons are the crisis of action, where something is building. There's a moment of pressure and decision. Taurus is fixed earth. It rules resources, values, money, land, food, and what we rely on to feel secure. The sun is in Aquarius, a fixed air sign that has to do with our ideals. So on a personal level, you may want to take an honest look at what you have and what you use for the self versus the community. Where do you expend your time? Where do you expend your resources? Community is going to be so important this year. And if you don't have a sense of community, I'd really like you to have some community. What can you do to connect with each other? With this upcoming solar eclipse in Aquarius, there's going to be an amplification of Aquarian themes. Can you take some actions before the solar eclipse to build more community? Friendship? Is there anything you want to do around groups, organizations, collective movements? Aquarius reminds us we're not meant to do life alone. The more people you gather to work with, stand with, and rely on as we move on later in this year, the better. The moon phase family of this cycle began on April 27th, 2025. Where the sun and the moon and Taurus both at 7 degrees. And that opened a lunar phase family, one of these 27-month cycles where the sun and the moon come into hard aspect every 9 months. So if you got pregnant back then, you're about ready to deliver the baby now. At this first quarter moon, the sun is in Aquarius and the moon is in Taurus, both at 6 degrees on January 25th, 2026. The full moon of this cycle, the sun is in Scorpio and the moon is in Taurus, both at 2 degrees on October 25th, 2026. The last quarter moon, the sun will be in Leo, the moon in Taurus, both at 3 degrees. That will be July 26, 2027. So mark your calendar. These are great cycles to use for planning. And you could give yourself a week or two either side to have the events materialize. As we zoom out and look at the collective, there's a massive winter storm moving across large portions of the United States, affecting tens of millions of people. There's widespread concern about power outages, infrastructure strain, travel disruptions, and safety. It's impacting multiple states. Aquarius rules technology, networks, power grids. And right now we've got Mars, Pluto, the Sun, Venus, and Mercury all moving through Aquarius. This is an intensification of that energy. And with Pluto in Aquarius, this makes sense that masses of people, Pluto has a mass influence, are going to be dealing with a weather apocalypse type situation that we've not seen before. The thing that concerns me the most about this storm is that Mars and Pluto are meeting. Hopefully you have been preparing if you are in an area that is affected by this. You have what you need to get through this hard time. Some people may be experiencing power outages that could last weeks. Last week's theme was a gray zone, where I talked about how power can be exercised without direct conflict and pressure applied without open war. And we're seeing this on the world stage. On Monday, the 19th of January, where Saturn and Pisces will sextile Uranus and Taurus, the president sent a letter to the Prime Minister of Norway stating that he's no longer thinking peace is a top priority because he did not win the Nobel Peace Prize. And he's instructed, rumor has it, the military to come up with a plan to invade Greenland. So this invasion of Greenland became top news at the beginning of last week. The pension fund in Denmark sold off a massive amount of U.S. bonds, stating the government of the United States finances as a cause. They didn't say anything about Greenland. And I feel like that's the gray zone, the shot that was fired, a warning sign. That could be a huge problem for the country because we have unbelievably massive amounts of debt, and the current president is responsible for, I think it's something like 10 billion of it. This is the gray zone, a financial signal that functions as a warning shot rather than a weapon being fired. The symbolism of gold and shared assets is especially strong right now. This first quarter moon is on the south node of the United States, which is at 6 Aquarius, in the second house of finances. I use Placidus, but if you use whole sign, it would be in the third house of the chart. The third house rules communication. The second house is about finances. The sun is at home in Leo and in detriment in Aquarius. And the sun rules gold, one of the most precious metals. And the sun being in Aquarius feels like collective wealth, shared assets between a group, other people's resources. And we're heading towards the solar eclipse in Aquarius squaring Uranus. Around the world, countries are probably already doing this. I heard something happened last year, but this could get louder where countries start requesting the return of their gold stored in the U.S. at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. And this reflects a global shift about reclaiming control and the lack of trust. people are feeling with the United States, with the current president. And people are starting to say the quiet part out loud, that he is acting in a way that is not logical. Demanding Greenland and threatening them with invasion because you didn't get a peace prize is not logical or mentally sound. And it's not in the best interests of the people of the United States. As we move towards the Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 Aries on February 20th, we're entering a new 36-year chapter. In the United States, Saturn rules finances and Neptune dissolves things we thought were solid. This could be one of the stories. And the first quarter moon in Taurus, which rules resources, saying, hey, give me my money. It makes a lot of sense. It could also be more people selling their bonds or things. You can think about this in your own life, about using your resources with care, because there's a lot going on financially, investing in what you value and strengthening your connections and support with your community, so that you can be anchored and have others around you while the world is shifting. And if you don't have people taking my class, you can maybe meet someone in the class. The 2026 Lunar Planning Guide is a digital, fillable guide that walks you through each moon cycle with themes, major transits, and journal prompts so that you can stay aligned with the energy. And beyond the moon, it includes all the key astrology for the year, the retrograde, sign changes, and major planetary events that shape the collective story. If you're looking for a clear, practical way to stay organized and grounded, this will help you track your intentions and make sense of the shifting energies in 2026. It's only $22 and the link is in the show notes. The next thing I want to make you aware of is that Neptune is re-entering Aries. Neptune dipped briefly in Aries from March 30th to October 22nd. So we've already had a taste of this energy, but now Monday, January 6th, it'll move into the sign of Aries and stay until 2038. And then 2039, it leaves Aries for 165 years. This is a major shift. Neptune entered Pisces back in 2011. Neptune is the planet of illusions, delusions, and confusion. It rules compassion and spirituality. It is the unseen. It's the planet of fraudsters and scammers. It's been at the last degree of Pisces since October, a place of fog, emotional overwhelm, confusion. And I called Neptune and Aries pop the balloon. While it was in Pisces, it's like you're drinking all the Kool-Aid and all of a sudden it starts to taste terrible. It becomes undrinkable. The pixie dust that was sprinkled on you by the magician reaches its expiration date. The spell breaks. Something we were all believing, tolerating, or participating in, something feels false, and we can't unsee it. And you probably already know what that was, what balloon was popped when Neptune went into Aries the first time. Neptune in Pisces is a dream. Neptune in Aries is the awakening. And as Neptune goes from 29 degrees of Pisces into 0 Aries, reality comes into focus. It's almost like a veil can be torn open, a crinoline curtain. And there's so much energy right now in Aquarius. It'll be interesting to see how this awakening arrives. Like mass communication, some kind of technology shift. Things that were hidden may become visible. I think of the Epstein files. This more and more is going to be coming out of this. Now, the shift can be jarring because Aries is a sign of conflict, courage, and action. It's the warrior. It rules the head, the face, the eyes. We may not feel it right away, but people will be feeling it by February 20th. And Mars is in Aquarius, and that rules Aries, and it's conjunct Pluto as Neptune moves into the sign. This is not quiet. It's intense, and power struggles could come to the light. Neptune in Aries is also the rise of mythic heroes and courageous stories. We're going to hear about people protecting others, people who won't look away when they see horrific things happening. We are going to be hearing more and more things about how people are standing up for their neighbors. If you are protesting, please wear some kind of face covering or gas mask. In Minnesota, there was an ice person that sprayed a green gas around people. Some people think it might be something that is illegal to be used, but it might not be. So I'm not sure what it is, but that is very concerning. I think they're going to escalate the tactics they're using before they de-escalate. Even if you're not protesting, there was a family driving back from basketball practice with their 4 kids, and ice set off some kind of canister of gas, and a 6-month-old baby went into crisis and could have died. Thank goodness the baby did not die, but they were just stuck in traffic. They couldn't get out of the situation. They had nothing to do with anything, and they almost lost one of their children. So do what you can to be safe. The last thing I want to make you aware of is that Mars and Pluto are meeting in Aquarius on Tuesday at 3 degrees. This is one of the most intense conjunctions of the year after the Saturn-Neptune. And when Mars approaches a planet, we often feel and see the effects a few days before the conjunction. So the energy is building through the weekend as this horrible storm is hitting the United States. Mars is a force that cuts, separates, and acts. It rules power. Pluto exposes, transforms, reveals what has been hidden, and also has associations with catastrophic failures. Pluto's the planet of death and rebirth. It's the higher octave of Mars. Together, they can represent raw power, deep pressure, irreversible change. Pluto was discovered around the time of nuclear energy, so nuclear things could be coming up into the collective. These are in the sign of Aquarius, which has to do with systems, technologies, collective movements. There can be revelations about corruption, power structures, hidden networks, and the abuse of power. This can show up through investigations, testimony. So sudden outages, disruptions, or cyber-related events could be part of what we're seeing. But with this horrible storm that's causing this deep freeze, there is a high probability that there will be power outages. And I've seen some things saying, not to scare people, but that they could last for weeks. Mars, Pluto, just be mindful on a personal level. Slow down. There can be a lot of conflict, emotions running hot, reactions being extreme. If something's been bothering you, Pluto is underneath the surface. It's subconscious. And when Mars comes into contact, something you may be angry about that you didn't even realize could come exploding out into the surface. So just be aware of that. If you're feeling yourself get agitated, stop, take a breath, pause before reacting. Notice where you have suppressed anger or fear. This is an intense week. It's intense energy. But sometimes things need to come to the surface. The episode is called The Deep Freeze. And this can be describing extreme cold, winter storms, or an infrastructure strain. These are kind of psychic hits that I get for the titles based on the astrology. And I've never seen this horror sci-fi movie, but there is a movie called Deep Freeze about a team of researchers at a remote Antarctic base who wake up a deadly prehistoric creature beneath the ice. And I think we need to be aware. We need to pay attention to the news because of the sequence of events. We're having a first quarter moon with the sun in Aquarius square the moon in Taurus. There's themes of systems and resources. They're talking about a storm that could be causing freezing weather of a catastrophic nature. And the United States stores nuclear weapons and components and radioactive materials in highly secured, climate-controlled underground facilities for their safety that depend on stable power, ventilation, and temperature regulation. Now, extreme storms and power outages can cause a problem with this. And the reason I'm more concerned about it than I normally would be is because of Doge. Elon Musk and his team were firing people indiscriminately, including people who worked in nuclear power plants in Texas. So there may be news or concern about if there is an extended freeze where scientists are going to have to focus on making sure that nuclear facilities around the country have stayed safe and contained. The Saturn-Neptune conjunction on February 20th may be when we're hearing something about that. It is conjunct the IC of the United States chart. This podcast is supported by tools and practices I use myself. One of those is Solar Fire software. Whether you're an astrology hobbyist just exploring charts, an enthusiastic student, or you have a full professional practice, Solar Fire is such a powerful companion. It doesn't just store charts, it animates them. You can move forward or backward in time and watch transits, progressions, and timing techniques unfold in real motion. I customize chart layouts, keep my client notes organized, and run reports I use all the time. It's deep enough for advanced work, but still approachable when you're learning. You can use my code Celeste15 for 15% off at alabe.com. On Sunday, the word of the day is resilience. The Taurus moon begins at 10:05 a.m. Pacific time. Concerns can turn to pleasure, comfort, great time for self-care, maybe eating something really delicious, financial planning. The moon in Taurus will square first Mars, then Pluto at 1, then 3 degrees. People can be a little agitated about conflict over resources or values, and it can take on a level of intensity because of the Plutonic energy. The first quarter moon at 6 Taurus will be at 8:47 p.m. Pacific time. If you set intentions at the new moon in Capricorn, this could be a good time to check your intentions and decide what your next actions are. It's a crisis of action. Now, Mercury in Aquarius is quincunx the south node in Virgo. This is themes of communication systems or transportation being down. So flights may be grounded in a lot of places due to the bad storm. On Monday, the word of the day is mythos. The moon will square Mercury and Venus, both in Aquarius, at 9 and 11 degrees. This is a great time for people who are like huddled inside because of this bad storm, can be getting together, playing competitive games, telling each other stories. The power outages are not going to be everywhere, but people cuddled up inside, maybe having conversations and having some good, fun time as they're huddled up. This is just day 1 or 3, depending where you are. Neptune enters Aries at 9:34 a.m. Pacific time. People may be thinking about deeper meanings of things, finding the courage, looking for, oh my God, where is the candles? Where are matches? All of those sorts of things may be happening for people who didn't prepare or didn't know the storm was coming because they weren't paying attention to the news. On Tuesday, the word of the day is crash out. The Gemini Moon begins at 12:54 p.m. Pacific time. Gemini is mutable air. This is a time where people communicate and connect, and be extremely careful driving. Part of this storm is there's supposed to be multiple layers of ice on the ground. This is a big concern. And with Mars and Pluto at 3 degrees of Aquarius, this could be bad accidents, system outages, people crashing out, just like emotional overwhelm, or people get detached from their emotions and get really, really upset and angry. So if you see someone crashing out, I would give them a wide berth. On Wednesday, the word of the day is integrity. The Gemini Moon, it will be on a fixed star Aldebaran, and it's a star of success through integrity. It bestows power and wealth on those who have it in their chart, and it's conjunct something important. It's at 10 degrees of Gemini. The reason it's important is because the moon at 9 degrees of Gemini is going to square the nodes, the north node in Pisces, the south node in Virgo. And Aldebaran has a rainmaker reputation. You may be confronted with information that shifts your perspective or forces you to speak up. It's a star that these royal fixed stars of Persia, they all have a nemesis. And the nemesis for Aldebaran is acting not in integrity. So it's a great time to stay anchored in integrity. And the Aquarius sun is quincunx the south node at 9 degrees of Virgo. So something could be coming up about a leader, which is a sun type figure, or a leader could face criticism for lacking integrity. On Thursday, the word of the day is closure. Mercury and Venus meet at 14 degrees of Aquarius, almost to 15, which is a world point. 15 degrees of the fixed signs are world points, where whenever there's a planet there or conjunction or any kind of aspect, it takes on additional significance. And they both are semi-square. Neptune at 0 Aries, which is also on a world point. 0 and 22.5 degrees of the cardinal signs are world points, and 7.5 degrees of the mutable signs. So I feel like this is some big public announcement, or negotiations are complete. Mercury negotiates Venus. We come together and unite. This could be the TikTok deal is done, or there can be another type of high profile agreement, or we can see some kind of formal appeal between nations. Aquarius is the group or Congress, something being negotiated in public view. It also could be things about testimony and hearings that have to do with Mercury deals with young people is one of the topics, as well as communication and transportation and commerce. Venus rules resources, women. It'll be interesting to see what shows up on this day. And it's going to be something because we have a gibbous moon where the moon is pregnant with possibilities at 24 Gemini at 5:44 a.m. Pacific time. And then the moon will square Saturn at 28 degrees of Pisces. And now Saturn is alone in Pisces. This feels really cold and a bit of harshness. Saturn rejects and excludes its boundaries, its limitations. There's a lot of talk about trying to make the age of consent lower, and red states want it to be like 14 so that they can marry off young girls and get them pregnant early. The Cancer moon begins at 2:35 p.m. Pacific time, and Cancer is associated with motherhood. The moon squares Neptune in Aries. So it'll be interesting to see what comes up with the Mercury-Venus conjunction and what's going on with the moon. The gibbous moon being pregnant with possibilities is happening on this day. On Friday, the word of the day is embellish. Mercury in Aquarius is King Kong's Jupiter retrograde, both at 17 degrees, and then the moon and Jupiter meet. This just feels like making something bigger than it is. Maybe the storm isn't as bad as it was supposed to be, and there's nothing to worry about. Underground things freezing. We'll know relatively quickly if this storm is really bad and a real threat. On Saturday, the word of the day is install. Venus in Aquarius is King Kong's Jupiter retrograde in Cancer. They're both at 17 degrees. And I get with Mercury happened yesterday, but Mercury and Venus traveling together, King Kong's Jupiter. Once the TikTok deal goes through, there's going to be a new app people have to download. And King Kong says, move us into new situations where we have to release and let go of something. So you may have to release and let go of your old app. The Cancer moon squares Chiron and Aries. They're both at 22 degrees. And people may be annoyed if the app doesn't feel good to them. The Leo moon begins at 4:08 p.m. Pacific time. This is a great time for having fun and enjoyment. People may be playful and ready to have fun. They also could be very dramatic because the Leo moon will oppose Pluto in Aquarius. People could be mad about their app, Pluto in Aquarius, because they're feeling surveilled by this app. So I think this is happening this week. And when it does, people are going to be talking about it. And this is also part of the solar eclipse in Aquarius coming February 17th. It's conjunct the United States moon, which rules the people. Aquarius rules technology, and it's squaring Uranus and Taurus. So there's this sudden break with this old TikTok app, assuming the sale goes through. And then you have this new thing that may be different and people may complain a bit about. So that's it for this week's episode. Feel free to email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com with any astrology and action stories, or let me know how the daily themes are playing out for you. Take care, and I'll catch you next week. Thank you for listening to Celestial Insights. To learn more about my work, please visit my website, astrologybyceleste.com, where I offer personal readings, horary consultations, cosmic coaching, group events, and classes to help guide people to higher levels of fulfillment. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at Astrology by Celeste. If you enjoyed Celestial Insights, please help others find the show. Follow, rate it 5 stars, or write a nice review. I would so appreciate it. I'm astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks, and I'll be back next week.